The atmosphere around Philadelphia feels different today. And it is not because of a blockbuster trade or a flashy free agent rumor. This time, the conversation is heavier, more reflective, and centered on something that often gets overlooked by fans until it is gone. The Eagles are dealing with a meaningful change on the coaching staff. One that has the potential to ripple through the defense if it is not handled with precision. Christian Parker, a key figure behind the scenes, is officially moving on. And his departure forces the organization to confront questions about continuity, development, and how much coaching truly matters when a team is chasing championships. For the Eagles, Parker was not just another assistant coach filling a role on the sideline. He was deeply involved in shaping the identity of the secondary, a unit that quickly transformed from a potential concern into one of the strongest position groups in the league. Over the past seasons, Philadelphia leaned heavily on young defensive backs, and instead of hiding them or protecting them with overly conservative schemes, the coaching staff trusted them. That trust paid off in a big way, and Parker was at the center of that growth, working day after day on technique, communication, and confidence. When you look at how quickly certain players adapted to the professional level, it becomes clear that this was not a coincidence. Rookies stepped into high-pressure situations and looked comfortable almost immediately. They lined up against elite receivers, handled complex route concepts, and showed an advanced understanding of leverage and spacing. That kind of readiness does not magically appear on Sundays. It is built during long practice weeks, in meeting rooms, and through detailed film sessions that break down every possible scenario. Parker's influence was evident in how disciplined and prepared the secondary consistently looked. The timing of his departure adds another layer of complexity. This is not a rebuilding Eagles team experimenting with pieces and hoping something sticks. This is a roster firmly positioned in a championship window. With expectations set at the highest possible level, every decision now carries more weight, because the margin for error shrinks when you are expected to contend rather than simply compete. Losing a coach who helped stabilize and elevate a crucial unit creates immediate pressure on the organization to respond correctly. What made Parker especially valuable was his dual responsibility. He was not only coaching defensive backs, but also heavily involved in coordinating the defensive pass game. That meant he had a broader vision of how coverage, pass rush, and situational football all connected. Removing that voice from the room leaves more than just a vacancy. It leaves a gap in how information flows, how adjustments are made, and how the defense responds when offenses inevitably find new ways to attack. From a player perspective, the loss is personal. Young defenders often speak about coaches who believed in them early, who pushed them hard, but also gave them the freedom to play fast and aggressive. Parker earned that kind of respect. Players trusted his teaching because it translated directly to performance on the field. When a coach can simplify the game without dumbing it down, players respond with confidence. That confidence showed up repeatedly in big moments, especially when the Eagles faced elite offenses under the brightest lights. There is also the broader reality of success in the National Football League. When a team performs at a high level, other organizations take notice, not just of the players, but of the coaches who helped develop them. Staff turnover becomes part of the cost of winning. Philadelphia has experienced this before, and it will experience it again. The challenge is ensuring that the system is strong enough to withstand individual departures, without losing its identity. As the Eagles evaluate their next move, the conversation likely centers on continuity versus evolution. Promoting from within offers familiarity, shared language, and an understanding of expectations that have already been set. It can help preserve the culture that allowed the secondary to flourish. At the same time, bringing in an external voice can introduce new ideas and prevent stagnation, especially in a league that constantly evolves offensively. The wrong hire could disrupt chemistry, but the right one could push the group even further. Another factor that cannot be ignored is how young this secondary still is. While they have already achieved a great deal, development is not a finished process. Young players benefit enormously from consistent coaching messages and stable leadership. Changing voices too frequently can slow progress, even for talented groups. The Eagles must be careful not to assume that talent alone will carry the unit forward, without the same level of detailed coaching that helped it rise in the first place. This situation also unfolds during an off-season filled with other important decisions. Coaching changes tend to overlap, creating a domino effect across the league as roles are filled elsewhere. The pool of available candidates shifts quickly. Philadelphia cannot afford to rush. but it also cannot afford to wait too long. Striking that balance is one of the most difficult parts of managing a successful organization, especially when expectations from fans and inside the building are sky high. The front office now faces a test that goes beyond evaluating resumes. It is about identifying someone who understands the current strengths of the roster and knows how to protect them. The Eagles do not need a dramatic philosophical shift on defense. They need continuity with intention. Someone capable of maintaining what works while making subtle adjustments to stay ahead of offensive trends. Overcorrecting after a loss like this can sometimes do more harm than good emotionally. This change resonates because of how connected Parker was to the growth story of the defense. Fans watched young players evolve from promising prospects into reliable, high-level contributors. That journey creates attachment, not just to the players, but to the people who guided them. Losing that presence feels unsettling, even if it is a natural part of the league cycle. As the organization moves forward, there will be confidence that the foundation remains strong. Talent is still in place, leadership among players continues to grow, and the overall vision of the team has not changed. However, maintaining excellence requires constant attention to detail, especially when a respected voice exits the room. How the Eagles respond to this moment will shape not only the defense, but the tone of the entire offseason and beyond. As this transition unfolds, the spotlight naturally shifts to how the Eagles plan to protect what they have already built. The secondary is no longer an area of concern or a developmental experiment. It is a proven strength, one that opposing offenses actively prepare for. Quarterbacks hesitate longer, routes are contested more aggressively, and mistakes are punished. That reputation did not form overnight, and sustaining it requires intentional leadership that understands the fine margins between dominance and decline. One of the most important elements moving forward will be communication. The Eagles' defense thrive on clarity, especially on the back end. Coverage responsibilities were clean, adjustments were made quickly, and breakdowns were rare even against complex offensive looks. That level of execution depends heavily on how information is delivered throughout the week and reinforced on game day. Whoever steps into this role must be able to command the room, translate concepts efficiently, and maintain the trust that has already been established with the players. There is also a leadership vacuum to consider. Coaches like Parker often serve as extensions of the head coach, reinforcing standards and accountability at the position group level. When that figure leaves, players inevitably feel the shift. Veteran voices in the locker room can help bridge the gap, but coaching presence still matters. The Eagles will be looking for someone who can balance authority with approachability, someone who can challenge players without losing their buy-in. Another layer to this situation is the evolution of the league itself. Offenses continue to push boundaries with motion, spacing, and tempo, forcing defenses to adapt constantly. The Eagles' secondary succeeded because it was not rigid. It showed flexibility, disguising coverages and reacting intelligently rather than relying purely on athleticism. Preserving that adaptability will be critical. A coach who is overly stubborn or tied to outdated concepts could limit the unit's effectiveness. Regardless of talent, the pressure of expectations cannot be ignored either. When a group reaches an elite level, the standard becomes relentless. Every mistake is magnified. Every performance is judged against past excellence. Young players who once exceeded expectations are now expected to dominate consistently. Navigating that mental shift is part of development, and coaching plays a major role in keeping players grounded while still pushing them to improve. Internally, the Eagles have emphasized culture as much as scheme. Daily habits, preparation routines, and accountability structures have been carefully built. A smooth transition depends on aligning any new hire with those values. This is not simply about finding a skilled tactician, but about finding someone who fits the environment and understands how success has been achieved within this building. At the same time, there is opportunity hidden within this change. New voices can spark growth, especially when players are receptive and motivated. Sometimes, a subtle adjustment in teaching style or emphasis can unlock another level of performance. The key is ensuring that those changes are additive rather than disruptive. The Eagles' defense does not need a reset, it needs refinement. The front office also has to consider long-term implications. Coaching hires are not just about the upcoming season, but about sustainability. Developing young coaches internally can create continuity down the line, reducing the shock of future departures. If Philadelphia identifies a coach with strong developmental instincts and leadership qualities, this move could strengthen the organization. Beyond the immediate challenge, fans, meanwhile, are watching closely, even if this decision does not dominate headlines the way a major signing would. Experienced supporters understand that championships are often decided by details that never show up on highlight reels. Coaching stability, player development, and defensive cohesion all fall into that category. Losing a respected assistant sharpens awareness of how fragile success can be in the National Football League. Within the locker room, the response will likely be a mix of motivation and adjustment. Players who benefited from Parker's guidance will carry those lessons forward, applying them independently in many ways. That is the ultimate measure of effective coaching. When players can self-correct, communicate, and lead each other, the system becomes bigger than any one individual. Still, the transition period will test everyone involved. Training camp, preseason preparation, and early regular season games often reveal whether a coaching change has been absorbed smoothly or if cracks are beginning to form. The Eagles know this and will be monitoring every detail closely, from practice intensity to on-field communication. This moment serves as a reminder that success in the league is dynamic. Teams are constantly adjusting, responding, and recalibrating. The Eagles have proven they can build a high-level defense. Now they must prove they can sustain it amid inevitable change. How they navigate this next chapter will speak volumes about the strength of their organizational foundation and their readiness to remain among the league's elite. Back in Philadelphia, the emphasis will remain on preparation rather than reaction. Championship-caliber organizations understand that change is inevitable and that stability is built through systems, not just people. The Eagles have invested heavily in scouting, drafting, and developing defensive talent. That investment has already paid dividends, and protecting it will be a top priority as the offseason progresses. The players themselves will also play a role in smoothing this transition. Leadership does not only come from coaches. Veterans and emerging stars within the secondary will be expected to reinforce standards, communicate expectations, and help younger teammates adjust to any changes in approach. When a room is truly healthy, leadership becomes shared rather than centralized. FlyEaglesFly News Family Smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. In what insiders are already calling one of the most shocking moves of the season, whispers from the league suggest that the Philadelphia Eagles and Los Angeles Rams may have quietly finalized a trade that many believed would never happen. Sources close to both franchises hint that the deal, still unconfirmed, involves star-level talent shifting between two of the NFL's most high-profile rosters, a move that could instantly reshape the landscape of the league. League insiders are calling it the impossible trade not just because of the caliber of the players involved, but because of the sheer unexpectedness of the two teams collaborating in any capacity. Traditionally rivals in strategy, philosophy, and market size, the Eagles and Rams have never been rumored to coordinate on a blockbuster exchange of this magnitude. Yet, according to multiple sources familiar with the negotiations, the deal reportedly progressed behind closed doors over weeks, with agents, general managers, and coaches all working at breakneck speed to align interests. A rare display of consensus in a league often mired in tension. Social media has already erupted with speculation, with fans dissecting every possible combination of players, draft picks, and cap maneuvers. Analysts are scrambling to predict the impact on both squads' depth charts, offensive schemes, and defensive alignments. Though few can agree on the potential outcome, some insiders suggest the trade could be the start of a wider domino effect, triggering additional moves as both teams adjust to the new roster dynamics. The locker rooms, according to sources, are buzzing with disbelief. Veterans reportedly whispering in hallways and young players trying to process the sudden shift in team hierarchy. While neither franchise has issued an official statement, the rumor itself has already ignited debate across sports talk shows and podcasts, with fans and pundits alike questioning the motives behind such a daring maneuver. Some speculate financial flexibility and salary cap strategy played a role. Others suggest it may be about psychological warfare, sending a message to the rest of the league that no team is untouchable. Regardless of the reasoning, one thing is clear: if the deal goes through, the NFL landscape could be altered in ways no one predicted, turning ordinary matchups into must-watch spectacles overnight. For now, all eyes remain on the Eagles and Rams, as every media outlet scrambles to confirm the details of what could be the season's most headline-grabbing trade. Players, fans, and commentators alike are bracing for the fallout of what insiders are already dubbing the trade. That could rewrite the league. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.